Alrighty, today is Monday, February 9th. Epstein Files, more of which have been released. Um, Elon Musk is a liar, continuously said that he refused to go to the island. We just got some more damning information, including an email in which he said, "What day slash night will be the wildest party on your island? And how many people will you be for the Heli 2 island?" Um, so obviously Elon Musk has continuously said that he was, for one, invited to the island multiple times and refused to go.
Mhm.
Um, but two, said that he had never been to the island, and that has been proven untrue. Plenty of communication between him and Epstein directly, some with assistants talking about him being on there, asking for young girls to give him massages. Um, Initial thoughts about this, reactions, anything?
Well, I mean, we understand why he knew that Trump was in the files, right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm also in the files.
Yeah.
Which, yeah, like, it's not necessarily surprising, but it's also kind of funny that, like, I'm not even sure Epstein wanted you to, like, hang out, which, like, good and bad with that. But, I think it's a little odd, just, the way he portrays stuff, which is like, he's a known liar in general, so it's not like super surprising, but it is surprising the depths of which people, I think, even like Trump and like officials around him, but Elon Musk to an extent as well, like they use the Epstein files as like their little weapon towards each other, or like attacking certain people that they don't like. Oh, he was on the Epstein file, or like,
Yep.
they throw out Bill Clinton. And then like when it gets time to do anything or like actually talk about like what they know about stuff, it's nothing. It's a hoax. It's not real. It's fake. I don't even know what we're talking about. Like why can't we just move on?
Yeah.
Which um I think more of the reason that we can't just move on is it touches almost everything, that we kind of think about the elite and like the power systems that we have, and like also, when you look at what he was doing and the influence peddling he was having, it really does show you a lot of like government corruption around like worldwide.
Yeah.
You know, it's not just America. Like, in fact, mostly it seems like anybody who's U.S. based or like the American people, like you're fine, you can do whatever. Whereas like, people are actually having to resign, and like there's being actual punishment in Europe to an extent. Now, like we'll see how far that goes here, because I mean, I think it's only a matter of time even when here, stuff starts happening. Like, Bill and Hillary Clinton are already testifying, and like I'm assuming that there's going to be more and more people that they want to testify because it's like if you're going to bring them in here, you need to bring everybody that you
Yeah.
can. So,
Yeah, and I think the thing that I have an issue with in regards to Bill Clinton is like, okay, fine. I 100% support you
mhm,
guys pulling Bill Clinton, but I mean, why not Donald Trump? Why would you not try to subpoena
mhm,
Donald Trump as well? I mean, he was clearly in the files too. He was mentioned in the files like twice as much as Bill Clinton, for one. Two, read something that Bill Clinton, or sorry, Donald Trump was actually mentioned in the Epstein files more than Harry Potter was mentioned in all seven Harry Potter books. So I mean, and
um,
that's literally a series about him. Um, so like I don't know. I think my frustration is just seeing like this whole like partisan hackery where
mhm,
there is it's like myopic views of like only the left is bad and there's only people on the left that are on the files when the reality is that's just not true. I mean, we're literally
mhm,
seeing it in real time. Trump is on there multiple times. We've seen Steve Bannon on there multiple times. We've seen Howard Lutnick on there multiple times. I mean, we're just seeing like all of these people. And then the
mhm,
guy who directed the Melania movie, he was also in there, photos with young
mhm,
women too. So it's just like, I mean, there's just so many people on the Republican side that have been proven to be on these files that are being released. Photos, email communication, you have like whatnot. Like it's just, and then all of a sudden, the only person that's getting
mhm.
subpoenaed is Bill Clinton. And like I hear that they're talking about doing it to Bill Gates too, but Bill Gates is more left leaning and it's like, okay, like or and that it nothing is even confirmed about Bill Gates actually. Like they haven't even said that they're going
Mhm.
to be pulling him. So I don't know.
No, but I mean, I do think, which I again, I think also like just thinking as I was about to mention it, like you also have to kind of like you can't just go after every single because like okay, the Bill Gates and Melinda Gates, like we know they split up because of his association with Epstein and trust and things like that.
Right.
And you know, her comments on it were basically like didn't deny anything, didn't say anything, just said that that's for him to answer for.
Yeah.
But I do also think like okay, like if he didn't commit any crimes, he just did some questionable things talking to him. Like, is that grounds to, you know, bring somebody in before the, you know, and let tell us what you know about Epstein? But at the same time, it's like in some ways with like the amount of crimes that we have and the amount of unanswered questions, I mean, I think it's like it's worthwhile to consider anybody who's mentioned in there to, you know, investigate, at least to have investigations to prove some of these allegations, which like,
Yeah.
even had already identified certain things where they were like, okay, this is not true. This didn't happen. Like even within the files themselves, they can sit there and kind of say, we haven't confirmed this, but we've confirmed, other things or like other aspects of it. But to me, if crimes were committed, you would investigate people, wouldn't you? Like that there's no other logical
You would
conclusion
think.
unless, I think you can't just do one or two people, there's at least a somewhat of a network that people are going to know. And you know, will we have to wait, until the end of this administration for anything to even happen? I doubt this administration is going to bring anything.
You know what? Okay, so this is exactly what I was about to ask. The follow-up question that I was going to ask you is like, do you think that we're going to see anything within the next year or so? I mean, like,
Hmm.
reality is these Epstein files have been slowly being released. We've already passed the deadline in
Hmm.
which Congress gave them. DOJ is slowly but surely actually releasing them.
Hmm.
But like Donald Trump says that we need to get past this. We've seen Kash Patel testify saying that, there was no other people that could be
Hmm.
indicted at this time. And the reality is that the FBI has already been sitting on these files. The DOJ has already
Hmm.
been sitting on these files this entire time. Do you really think that it's possible to get any prosecutions with, because like now the only difference is now it's public, right? Like
Hmm.
there has been no arrests, there has been no like other than a subpoena towards, Bill Clinton, there hasn't been any repercussions for
Hmm.
anybody, at least in the United States. I mean, I'm sure you saw that somebody stepped down in Europe,
Hmm.
which, obviously as a country, I love that for them. I wish we had people that could also be held accountable here. But like, do you think that
Hmm.
there's going to be anything that comes out of it within the next year or two?
I do think that there's going to be, I mean, obviously, when you haul Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton in front of the court, one, it seems like they were almost like Bill Clinton was basically kind of like, okay, let's go. And it's like, honestly, this is just taking it back to like, okay, you did this with Hillary for Benghazi. You always want to target the Bill Clinton and the Clintons in general, which, is there something there? Maybe, who knows at this point? And there is, I mean, any ties to Epstein are questionable at this point, but you know, I think it's like you don't want to go and just assume all these different things and say you know the whole story, because I think um, that almost is feeds into the like conspiracy theories around some of this because some of the stuff I'm saying like people see and I'm like, you're crazy, like you are insane what you see in this.
Yeah.
Now, is it, people have their different feelings about certain things about religion and things like that, but I think like, the some of the stuff where I was seeing like he had an account named Ball or something and JP Morgan and they're saying JP Morgan's like a part of it and like it's the devil or something. Like I think some of that's a bit, extreme and kind of crazy, but
Yeah.
um, you know, there is some questioning of like what are some of these QAnon people and stuff like maybe they knew and then they just like drugged themselves up where it didn't make any sense or they just lost their mind, which honestly, some of the paranoia and stuff like this from like the way in which, Epstein would threaten, I'm gonna blow, burn your house down. I'm gonna like do all these different things and stuff like that. It can make sense why some people wouldn't be, lucid or things like that. But also like, you know, there's only so many people that probably knew everything, right? Like even some of the victims probably didn't know what was going on to everybody else and all these different
Right.
things, right? So
Right.
it's like you have to the only way you can get more answers is by keeping going and like having everybody that can testify. And like if I don't think it's ridiculous to ask Trump to come after that, especially like they were saying, like Democrats are kind of arguing, like if you're gonna like haul Bill Clinton in here, let's haul Trump in here. And I guess their argument's going to be, well, he's in office. Who cares? That's probably even more reason
To
because,
actually, yeah, pull them out
like,
in front.
what if he has connections to this? And also, I begin to think about like, there's a lot going on with Russia and Israel and like, see, there's different organizations like Mossad and CIA and things like that within the documents. Now,
Yeah.
do I think there's complete culpability in all of that? Somewhat, but on who, those answers are still remaining. But
Yeah.
clearly he was trying to influence Petal in some way.
Yeah.
And it makes me begin to question like some of the information about the dossier and stuff that Epstein was talking about with like Trump and like different arguments that Trump had for like why he acts the way he does towards Russia sometimes. And it's like I don't know, it begins to seem like there's something there sometimes, or even with Israel, like it's like a hands-off approach with Israel, right? And you don't want to like get completely drawn into the conspiracy theories with that, but
Right.
I have to think that there's some angle like that that would even like usurp the desire of the state to investigate. And like right now, do you think our current government's gonna care if you have answers? Like they're doubling down on like free speech suppression and like authoritarian tendencies anyway. So it's like what would be more of just like a distraction or like throwing somebody distracting people and not saying the truth about like what your intelligence agencies are doing and things like that.
Yeah. I think my issue is like, even if they were to hypothetically subpoena Donald Trump, there's not going to be enough votes to do anything. Like, I
Yeah.
mean, we might get him, like, if after the primaries, we might be able to impeach him, but like, there's
Mhm.
not going to be any removal. Like, Congress will have enough
No.
votes to impeach him, but like, nobody's going
Mhm.
to try to remove him, even though, I don't know. I think that, I mean, we saw, did you see about like the election in Louisiana?
Mhm.
And how we finally we flipped another seat that was in a deep red space. And
Mhm.
like, I don't know, it just I feel like we're seeing a lot of Democrats do really well in these special elections, and
Mhm.
I truly believe that this is just foreshadowing for what's to come this
Yeah.
November. But like, I think the reality is there's still not going to be enough of a shift to hold Donald Trump accountable in any capacity. But I truly hope that the
Mhm.
next administration does try to do something like in terms of like indictments or like continuously putting him through like legal proceedings. Cause like the reality is
Mhm.
he is constantly like done something illegal. I feels like he's done something illegal literally every month, trying to go around certain court orders or, just being you know, deciding that he is the all-knowing decision maker and nobody can second guess him. It's just frustrating to see
Mhm.
all that.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a possibility that the wins will be bigger than, I think it might be bigger than 2018. Um,
Uh,
in that wave year, and they took control of both houses then, so we'll see what happens with that. Um, but you know, I don't know. I could see even some Democrats seeing like, okay, maybe this isn't worth it and stuff like that. But like, after a certain point, if his poll numbers go to, really, if you get much lower than where you're at now, Republicans are going to smell blood in the water and they're going to go for it.
yeah.
And I think you already had some of, I mean, obviously Tillis and people are retiring, but you've had them. begin to speak up more. I mean, he got a lot of blowback for the tweet against the Obamas, which I know we were going to, kind of talk about that a little bit more this week. But I also think it's like it kind of shows you that his staying power is not here anymore. Like he, especially even after the midterms, he's a lame duck president.
Yeah.
He's no staying past that. There's nothing like it's not going to happen.
When he's not on the ballot, he doesn't do well. Like anybody
Yeah.
that he pushes, I mean, he is the issue with his kind of excitement, like the
Hmm.
excitement around him, is that it's
Yeah.
only for him, right? Like
Hmm.
you can put anybody else, you can try to hype up anybody else, and every single one of them fail, 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 fail. Unless he's on the ballot, they don't do well. And so after this
No.
election, you're right. I think that he's just going to be, he's going to be a figment of an imagination. Like people are going to mention him here and there saying like, "Oh, I'm in his good graces," but they're not going to run
Hmm.
on the Donald Trump policies. They're not going to run on the Donald Trump alignment. They're going to run on like hopefully real issues because like
Hmm.
I remember when politics used to be about real issues and having
Hmm.
conversations about real issues. What we have here is not that. And I mean,
Hmm.
it's just, I don't know, it's just wild to see. And like I was looking this up because I needed to also mention this before we like move on from the Epstein thing. But it says this is redacted. It says, "Thank you for a fun night. Your littlest girl was a little naughty." They redacted the name of the individual who sent that email. And this was to,
Hmm.
it says to Jeffrey Epstein from, and then the name is redacted. How are we, how are we redacting
Hmm.
the names of someone who says, I mean, listen to this again. "Thank you for a fun night. Your littlest girl was a little naughty." And that name was redacted.
Yeah.
I mean, how are we? I just don't understand. I, I can't comprehend how people are still justifying anything Donald Trump does because we are still seeing some of the biggest dick riders for Donald Trump. Nobody's turned on him. Well, not nobody's turned on him, but a majority of people have not turned on him. A lot of Republicans are
Hmm.
saying, yeah, like, this is just who Donald Trump is. I'm just like, I mean, we're talking about children being raped, sexually assaulted,
Hmm.
groomed, and like you still can't go against your allegiance because you're afraid of, a couple of trans people. Like that's insane to me.
Yeah. I mean, I
It
think
defies
some people
logic.
like, yeah, in some ways, unless you just assume, I think it's like the ultimate everybody's evil, so it doesn't matter. Why do I care? Why am I worried? It's like you just feel lose faith with the political system even more in some ways, and then you that probably explains why, Democrats do far better in these because these are not like these seats are not supposed to be able to be won. Like these were literally designed for the GOP to just basically run with it with cake, especially like after 2024 and the way they were seeing stuff. Oh, we're gonna win with all these people, and like
Yeah,
you can't win with people and then say, you know what? We don't care if you supported us. Like, I mean, with the deportations and things like that, it's like no one's safe.
right.
Venezuelans, Cubans, it doesn't matter who you are and how much you support the president doing certain things or like certain foreign policy decisions or anything. It doesn't matter about those things
Yeah,
because at the end of the day, everyone's dispensable. And I think, after a certain point, you know, I think the people who Trump has led on so long, they're gonna be far worse than anybody else because I mean we always talking about Marjorie Taylor Greene, but like I think what she said was like kind of true for a lot of people. Like it was all lies.
yeah,
Now there's going to be some people who Donald Trump was the Republican president, so you can't ever question the Republican Party leader. You have to say like
correct.
everything's great and everything's wonderful,
And
and
fall in
then
line. Yeah,
yeah, and then 5 years later, well, I just didn't like this or this or this. Like that's what you're gonna do then.
right.
But I think it's like kind of also interesting the way in which like everything Donald Trump criticizes and says that like he said the Bush administration in Iraq was a failure and all these different things, he follows that same pattern. He says that all these Epstein people and all these associates, they're a cabal, they're evil, they're doing all these things. And then as soon as he has the power to be able to do it and it's moved on and he's tired of it, it's a hoax, it's whatever. Every single chance he gets, he kind of is the person you're trying to fight against.
Yeah.
Which I think in some ways kind of did. I mean, didn't it work? Like the amount of people who are associated with Epstein that are associated with Trump. And let's be honest, Bill Clinton is associated with Trump because he was friends with Trump. So
Yeah.
like it's not far off, but like current people who are in the administration and also, um just like how many times his name is in it, right? Like did they just throw you in there all those times? And then, the argument that like why haven't Democrats done that or said anything about this and stuff like that? But like, would people have really even supported that? They would have just, they would have, especially the like Republican base, they won't believe it even when it comes out fully. So it's like
Yeah.
there's almost no attempting to tell the truth sometimes anymore.
Yeah.
Um, like, some people I think it's like you have to accept certain things. Certain things aren't going to get solved, and you might as well just keep going on, as like everything's normal, I
Yeah.
think. And that's just, I mean, I don't think that's a very great policy going forward with, people who might have been doing these things and even like interacting. Like, we don't know, like, on what level they were, the prince supposedly, Andrew in the UK, was supposedly giving trade secrets or some extra information towards Epstein. It's like it shows you to how the elite operate and in what way they're kind of the billionaires are screwing people over and screwing over not just people but also like policy and like crafting stuff to suit their needs and
Right.
kind of their villainy in some ways.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's just so much here that like we could dissect because I mean it all of it is just so disgusting. Like just because like
Hmm.
it seems like it is a corrupt thing from like top down.
Hmm.
And it gets more and more concerning as more and more information is released. But like the reality is, like you said, there's nothing that anybody is actually going to do about any of this. And that really, really, really sucks. Um, all right. I want to watch a video really quickly. I want to hear your initial thoughts about this, kind of give a background about this. It says, this is a very young girl. This is from Ed Kassenstein. He said, "This is how sick Jeffrey Epstein and his co-conspirators are. I just found this in the Epstein files. This is a very young girl. It makes me nauseous. We need to hold every one of these sickos accountable. We need every email and photo. This isn't a victim unredacted. Are you telling me that Donald Trump and Bill Clinton never sent a single email to Jeffrey Epstein? Does anyone really believe that?" Okay. Now, trigger warning for anybody that, is watching. But this is the video.
Are you playing it?
I thought I was.
No,
Okay.
you weren't. No, not to say, but
All
yeah.
right. Can you see it now?
Yeah, I can see it. It just wasn't playing, but
Okay. Is it playing now?
yeah.
This is a young child who was filmed in a bathtub, found in the Epstein files. Um, I feel like, it like things like that like make me kind of emotional because like you see something like that and you're just like you can tell that she's like under the age of like 15, realistically.
Hmm.
And they are filming her taking a shower. Um,
Mm,
what I mean, like I said, I'm lost for
mm,
words when I watch something like that. What's the first
mm.
thing that comes to mind when you see something like that?
Yeah. I mean, obviously there's a lot of questions that come to mind of like, I mean, one, who is doing this, and like thinking about like who would want to do that in some ways as well, but also like, you know, we kind of say these things and to an extent I think there was probably some truth to that, right? Like it wasn't always children, it wasn't always those certain things and stuff like that, but it's like it was at times, and
Yeah,
like it was such, you know, exploitation that it's like how who one, did you just kidnap children? Like whose child is that?
yeah,
Because like that makes me concerned, in a lot of ways about like, um, in what way and in what capacity, like were these people, doing this to their own children? Where, and I mean like Epstein associates and things like that, um, and things like that, but also like, how young were they taking girls off the street or wherever they are and then using them?
yeah,
Like because we just assume that it's like the sexual part and like it's some of these stories of the women who have come out and like we already kind of know their stories to a degree, right? They worked at like Epstein's place or they worked with Trump or whatever the different thing is, right?
yeah,
So it's this level of which that I think some people are like, oh, you could have escaped, you could have got out, right?
yeah,
Even though that in itself is like not understanding the conditions that people are put in. But imagine being groomed and going from a child at that age. I mean, they're probably 8, 9, maybe. That's what it looks like to me.
yeah.
And to maybe have to be forced to do that for years, and like knowing that they have. I mean, just thinking of the things that were going on and the you know writing the Lolita quotes and like talking about that and kind of like getting into your mind the mindset in some ways of these people who were influential too. Like these are people who you should you should think are, trying to do the right thing, would never, I mean, maybe they would do some sort of tax or, something like crime like that, but nothing this depraved.
Yeah.
And I think it just goes to show you, the levels of which I think, there's very fucked up people in the world. Very fucked up.
That's an
That's
understatement.
the understatement,
Yeah,
but there's nothing else you can say with it in some ways. Like it's so appalling.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. I don't know. It's just I think there's a lot to kind of digest when you see something like that. I think what's even scarier is that you know that this isn't even the worst of it, right? Like
yeah.
there
Hmm.
is 100% videos of like children actually like being sexually assaulted. And like this is the stuff that they're able to still release. Um,
Hmm.
and like I said, there's no accountability. Donald Trump, at the beginning was even saying that it was a Democrat hoax. Apparently, that right there is a Democrat hoax created by Biden and Obama, for whatever reason. Um, and like it's just there's just so much. So and he wants to move on. I mean, just this past weekend with Caitlin Collins
Hmm.
kind of still pressing him,
Yeah.
he was saying like, you know, it's time to move on. He's continuing on this path of
Hmm.
it's time to move on. He brings no like he really hates talking about it,
Hmm.
when he called that reporter Miss Piggy, right? Like that was when she was questioning him about
Hmm.
the Epstein files. Like it's just anytime he gets backed into a
Hmm.
corner and forced to respond to some of the stuff that was said, he's for whatever reason, fighting back with all of his might and refuses to talk about any of it. And yeah, I don't know. There's a lot.
Hmm.
Well, yesterday was the Super Bowl. Uh, halftime show, Bad Bunny. Apparently, it was the most anti-American thing according to literally all of MAGA. And if you weren't tuned into the Turning Point USA halftime show, then you truly aren't an American, even though Puerto Rico is an American territory, but that's neither here nor there. Um, it's kind of weird trying to transition from or segue from
Mhm.
talking about children being
Yeah.
assaulted to now all of a sudden the racism, but like that's just the world that we live in with Trump's America. Um, MAGA did not like the Super Bowl performance.
Mhm.
I enjoyed it. What were your feelings about yesterday's Super Bowl
Mhm.
performance?
I don't know, I tend to like enjoy the performances in general. Like whether I'm a super big fan of somebody or not, like I tend to like Bad Bunny. I don't know everything. I don't speak Spanish, so it's not like I know the lyrics, but
Right.
I understand the intention and the sound sounds good. So
Yeah.
whatever, you know. And I also think that it was in some ways a celebration of America, even though it's also, you know, there are some calls to like questions of like the status of Puerto Rico and things like that, which, you know, people I saw Laura Loomer, she was like, why are they on polls? Why are they talking about this? They don't have good infrastructure. He should be talking about that. And it's like, perhaps he is.
Yeah.
Um, which, you know, it wasn't white enough for her, I guess. But
Yeah.
um,
Sounds about
you
right.
know, it is interesting that they just kind of like completely go for it and just like take it off. And it's like, yeah, it's about being white, but at the same time, it's like y'all do this like every year. Y'all are mad about the Super Bowl, and now you have your alternative one, and it's Kid Rock, which God bless, you know.
I heard I heard people actually tuned in. There was like they had like 3 million viewers, 4 million, I think, in total.
Yeah.
Um, wow. That's the first thing that came to my mind was like I to be honest, I wasn't expecting it to break a million. Uh kind of impressed that it did break a million.
Mhm.
But to be fair, I mean you even had the likes of Donald Trump hyping it up. So
But did he even watch it? He was complaining about he was complaining about
about
Bad
Bad
Bunny, so
Buddies,
I
yeah.
don't even know if he did. But I
Yeah,
mean, I do think that there are some people who just wanted to see the cringe, so like they tuned in for that reason. So you can't, you know,
probably.
there's probably not like 4 million people like cheering to it, but like I'm gonna say a sin, but like when I was younger, I've heard some Kid Rock stuff that was like, you know, it wasn't the worst, but he's
Yeah.
deteriorated over the years. He said things that are so awful.
Yeah.
And let's be honest, I mean, this is a man who performed with like in the 90s with a Confederate flag, you know, behind him. And I get Southern culture and the aspects of that to an extent, but I also think that like, can't we evolve and change a little bit? And like, also,
You'd hope.
you're trying to you talk about how it's so divisive, and you do your own
It
show.
wasn't even that's I hate. I
You made it
literally
divisive by saying we're going to create our own. Okay, cool, but
what
like,
what was
why
divisive?
could you?
What was divisive about Bad Bunny's
Brown people,
I
brown
just, I
people.
like, I just can't. I literally like, they were like, I saw so many people talking about how divisive it was on
Yeah,
for Republicans. I was like, okay, for one, I know for a fact none of you could understand anything that he was saying. So how would you
no.
even know what he said was divisive? But two, there was nothing there that was divisive, or he didn't talk about ICE and what was happening with ICE. He literally just shared Puerto Rican culture. That's
Mhm,
it. There wasn't anything additional. There wasn't anything
mhm.
extra. It was just Puerto Rican culture.
Well, I
That's it.
think also that there was a degree of Pan Americanism in it, um,
How is that
which
divisive?
it's divisive because in the mind of the people who are talking, right? Like, let's think about what they are. We're the United States. We're not America. Like, that's their argument is like we're not a part of y'all. Y'all are different than us. When most of our history is connected to the North and South America. Like, whether I'm not saying that all of it's good,
Yeah.
but our ties to the Americas are far stronger than people realize, right? Like, I mean, most immigrants that we have, you know, like coming across the border and things like that, like there's a lot of South American, you know, based people coming to into our country, which, you know, has always been kind of the case in some ways.
Yeah.
And you know, even like South American countries were kind of built in a similar manner to us. So it's like one, it's just a lack of understanding of, I mean, every time somebody says something about Puerto Rico, they're so confused that it's a part of America and that they're citizens too, which is like, did you not catch up the last news cycle when we talked about this? Like they regurgitate the same things. It's like, are you stupid? Like what's wrong?
It's got to be so jarring to
Hmm.
be a Republican.
But
But
let's be
hearing this,
honest,
it's like, what? Like, how do you not know Puerto
they're
Rico is not part of it?
they are so anti-American, are so anti
People of
being
color.
against Trump, being liberal, saying your opinion in some ways. Like they're attacking our own American Winter Olympics team because they dare to have an opinion about
Oh
stuff.
my
And it's
God.
so funny to me that it's like y'all are so like patriotic and love America, and then all of a sudden somebody says a different opinion. You're not an American. I hate you. You're an embarrassment. I'm not rooting for you. Who are you going to root for at that point?
It's insane to see. Like, I'm just like, I mean, what? You're right. Like, they're talking about, I've seen so many people
Hmm.
talk about some of the comments that some of like the skiers have made and
Hmm.
the ice dancers or whatever the hell. I just, there's
I don't.
just no,
Yeah.
I don't even know what
Nope.
sports that they're playing in,
No clue.
but like, I've seen their faces and I know their names, and like, he's actively going and rooting against
Hmm.
some of our American athletes because he felt uncomfortable with some of the comments that they made, including
Hmm.
like, oh, I don't support what's going on in America, even though I wear this flag. I do it for my family and my values. And it's just like
Hmm.
what was crazy to me was people were offended when he said like, I choose to represent kindness and family values. And Republicans felt attacked by that.
Hmm.
I
I
mean,
mean, it's the
what?
same way they felt like, probably like I saw somebody where it was saying that the Bad Bunny performance was divisive and there was probably a political message. The political message was hate, or the only thing greater than hate is love. Is that a hateful message? It sounds like to me. I'm gonna just be honest, like everybody's like talking about a Christian nation, a Christian nation. Wasn't that kind of like in the Bible? Like, wasn't
Yeah.
that kind of said? So
Yes.
basically, more or less. So
Yes.
like that's defensive, or that's offensive to you? Excuse me. But that's offensive to you? Like, it just doesn't make sense to me. And also, like, what are we? Like, if you didn't like the performance, change the channel. Get up a second. Like, I don't understand this need to like the Super Bowl performance. You
The
don't
hate
have to
watch.
like
To
the Super
hate
Bowl performance.
to hate watch. That's what
Yeah,
they were doing.
exactly. Exactly. And or be mad about it. And it's like, okay, if you want to be mad about it, just don't participate. Don't engage in it. And also, you know, there is a degree of which that I get that there is some PR and like some understanding of like trying to expand the horizons of like American football to more audiences.
Yeah.
But to me, isn't that more of a celebration of America than anything?
Yeah.
That you're literally going to take the game that you created in your culture and expand it and export it and get people to, participate in it and engage in it, as well as, you know, everybody that was every one of those flags is probably represented in some way in our country and our culture.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you're so, I guess anti, people that you don't like or your identity or racist. I guess we can just get down to it really.
Yeah.
That
Exactly. They're
you
racist.
literally get negatively polarized against your own people and your own country and your own
Yeah.
culture in some ways. It's like you want the worst for your country in some ways, which I mean, honestly, the ever since 2016, it does seem like we've kind of gone down a path in some ways where it's like, you know what? I want the worst for you, actually.
I mean,
You know,
rooting against our own best interest. It's insane.
yeah. But
Anyways, well, this was a good conversation. I have a meeting at 2:30, so we're gonna wrap this up. But I appreciate you as always. We'll be back
mhm.
here on Wednesday. You guys are getting lucky. You get two episodes this week rather than just one. But as always, stay safe. Please subscribe to the Progressive Movers, and we will see you guys later.
Yep. See ya.